Hello. Hi, everybody. We're live this morning from Aberystwyth, and it's great to see so many numbers popping up. You'll be able to see in the chat that you can type in, you can say hello, introduce yourself. I'm happy to say there's a lot of people joining us this morning, so we might not be able to do full introductions of everybody, but it's great that you've joined us. We're just going to hold on for another minute or two before we really get started, just so that other people can join if they're a bit late. It's 9 a.m. here in the UK, of course. I'm going to be honest, it's raining a bit. The sun is not shining right now, but it was beautiful over the weekend and the week before. We made it down to the beach and enjoyed ice creams, wandering alongside the coast. So it's, normally this time of year, it tends to be nice weather, but not today, unfortunately. So my name's Harriet. I'm Head of International Recruitment and Development here at Aberystwyth University. And like I say, I'm delighted to see so many people joining us this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. And I'm joined by my colleagues, Dave and Rosa, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Harriet. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be with you all this morning. So I'm Dave Moyle. I'm the Assistant Registrar for Undergraduate Admissions. So I oversee the day-to-day management of the undergraduate admissions team. But today I'm also going to be representing the postgraduate side of things as well. So, I'll be talking a little bit about offer conditions, a little bit about the CAS process, and I'll be taking any questions on undergrad and postgraduate admissions. And I'll hand over to Rosa.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to today's session. My name is Rosa Soto. I'm the International Student Advisor, and I will be going through how to apply for your student visas. And I am the person that you are very welcome to contact if you need any help applying for your student visas. So it'll be lovely to go through all of the information that you need in a bit.
Wonderful, thank you. So this is the first of 3 pre-departure webinars that we'll have over the summer months before September, before the start of your programmes. So we've got this one now in June, we'll have one in July, we'll have one in August, but then there will be extra visa sessions as well. So Rosa will be going over the information that she's going to deliver today on a number of different occasions through the summer. And you should be able to find all that information on the same website where you signed up for this in the first place. And we can put that website into the chat in a bit. Okay, so I think we'll get started with our sort of presentation. We'll go over the slides and go through all the different details about finalising your application if you haven't already, getting your CAS and then applying for your visa. And we'll have a bit more information later about your arrival to Aberystwyth, and of course there'll be a chance to ask any questions that you might have at the end of the session. Okay, so first, just a few pictures, and I took these slides from last year. Now, of course, last year and the year before, we were all stuck in COVID mayhem and pandemic, and it was really difficult to see anybody or socialise or do anything. And so these pictures were used as a sort of glimpse into the type of lifestyle that you get in Aberystwyth and here in Wales, and you can see that it's just full of beauty, natural beauty. There are so many places to meet up and go for walks, sit on the beach. So it was a very, very safe place to be through the COVID pandemic. Thankfully, it's not too much of an issue anymore. But I did think this slide was still beautiful and the pictures are very beautiful. And as you can see down at the bottom, the picture of the dolphin, there are a lot of dolphins that live in the bay and they come through the summer months. So walking to work the other day, I spotted dolphins. It's really wonderful. So what we'll cover, we're going to go over the application checklist. We've got details on accommodation as well, details on how to finalise your application, your CAS and visa application, and then information about your arrival in September, and then other updates and the international experience and how to get involved. So starting off, we've got this sort of flow chart to make things easier and hopefully make things more simple to understand. So first of all, you're making your application. You will all have done that. So we'll move straight on to the next slide. You should have all received a decision as well. Generally, this is a conditional offer. Sometimes you get an unconditional offer straight away, but most people will have received a conditional offer, and then the conditions of their place at Aberystwyth University will be listed in that letter. Now, it's really important that you accept your offer. Now, I imagine that everybody who's here on the call today will have accepted their offers, but just in case you haven't, you must fill in and return the offer reply form, or let us know that you are accepting your offer. So once you've accepted your offer, you should then get a username and you should then be able to apply for accommodation. Now, this is really important. I know it sounds simple, but we did have people turning up last year who had not booked accommodation. So you do need to book into your accommodation. Even though we have the International Accommodation Award, which means that your accommodation is free, you still have to book in to the accommodation. So first of all, let's go over the details of applying for your accommodation. So the International Accommodation Award, like I said before, you need to accept your offer of a place at the university. Then you log in to the accommodation portal. So you should be able to find details of that on our accommodation website. And thank you very much, Vicky. We have our colleague Vicky in the background sending through links on the chat. So make sure that you've done that. I'm sure most of you have already done this and there's no problem, but just in case, make sure that you do that. And you can do it straight away. You don't, even if in the end you can't get to the university or you change your mind, you can still apply for accommodation now. So then you choose whether you want option 1, which is the free accommodation option. So that's in Court Mawr, and you'll see the Welsh names of all the accommodation, which I really struggled with when I first started working here. But you get used to it. So Court Mawr, there's no cost to that, so it's completely free. It's self-catered, and you have shared bathroom and shared kitchen facilities. Or you can choose to go for option 2, which is our other campus housing. So the other housing on campus tends to be a bit more luxurious. You would have a private bathroom, a shared kitchen and shared kitchen, or sometimes a private kitchen if you decide to go for a studio apartment. And all of those are self-catered again, but that comes with a £2,000 discount. So you still have to pay for it, but it's £2,000 cheaper than it would be if you were paying full price. And of course, the other option is to go into private accommodation. So within the town, there's lots of accommodation options. There's lots of estate agents who deal with student rentals. So you can find a room in a house or your own private flat privately in town as well. So that's the other option. Obviously, you would have to pay for that, and which is fine. It tends to be around, I'd say, sort of £500 a month or so. And yeah, there's lots of different options. So the accommodation, let me see if I can just move my face out of the way. There we go, I'm down here now. So this is a picture of the campus, an overview of the campus, that big building that you've got in the middle on the left with all the cars outside it. That's the National Library of Wales. So you're probably aware already, but we have over 6 million books in that library. It's one of the 4 copyright libraries in the UK, so it's one of the most important libraries in the whole country. And we have a copy of every book, every copyright book. And I just think it's a wonderful fact that Aberystwyth has the greatest ratio of people to books in the world. So there are 6 million books in Aberystwyth and only 12,000 people. So I love that as a fact. You can see the sea over on the horizon, and you can see the sports fields and sports grounds there in front of you. And then towards the back of the campus, up on the top of the hill, you have the different accommodation options. So you've got Pentre Jane Morgan, Fern Penglais. That Fern Penglais is the newest and the most luxurious accommodation. So that's where we have the studio apartments. There's Rossa, there's Court Mauer, which is the free accommodation, which is still fantastic accommodation. You know, you get your own private bedroom, and then you have shared kitchen and shared bathroom facilities. And then there's also Trefloyne, which is another set of residences. So when you decide to live on campus, you also get free membership to the gym. So you don't have to pay anything to use the gym on campus. It's 6 or 7 people sharing social areas normally, and every room is single occupancy only. So you only have one person in there, and of course you have your own private space. Unless you opt for the more luxurious accommodation where you might get a studio apartment, a double bed, and so on. There's 24-hour security, and all of your bills and all of your Wi-Fi is included. Okay, so we're going back to the checklist again now. So I'm going to put my face back up the top. Oh no, I'll go over here now. So once you have your results, the results of your exams, perhaps your high school results, perhaps your university results, send those to us. You will then have met the conditions of your academic offer. So you would then have an unconditional offer. You won't actually receive an unconditional offer. You won't get something that says unconditional offer, but it means that you can move to the next stage in the application process. You also need to send us your final documents, and that's really important. So anything that's listed in the conditions of your offer, that's what you need to send us. And I'm going to hand over to Dave now, head of our UG admissions team, to talk through the next bit. So go over that in more detail. I'm going to move our faces again. Oh, down. Oh yeah, it would just be tiny.
There we go. Tiny's good. Thank you, Harriet. It's great. So I'm going to talk first of all about undergraduate offers, and then on the next slide I'll detail a little bit more about postgraduate offers. There are some similarities between the two, but equally there are some subtle differences as well, which is why we've separated them out, just so we can deal with each of them in turn. So to start off with undergraduate offers and meeting your conditions. If you've made an application to us for an undergraduate course, and that could have been either through our direct application portal, which is available through our website, or via UCAS, or via the Common App, what we will have done is taken that information, and if we've been able to make you an offer, push that offer out to you. So I would hope that the vast majority of people who are joining us today will have received some form of an offer from us. Now, within that, you will have, in most cases, a set of conditions to meet. So this is a conditional offer. And typically within that, it's based on you achieving certain qualifications and certain grades within those qualifications. So in most instances, a conditional offer is issued to a student who is yet to complete their final qualifications. It might be that you have one more term to do at your school or college, and you're waiting for your final transcript, your final set of results. So we make you a conditional offer, which explains to you the academic criteria that we require you to meet. Usually within that as well, we'll also list non-academic criteria. And that would include, for example, things like a fee deposit, and where applicable, evidence of English language ability as well. If you go onto the university's website, it should be detailed in your offer anyway, everything to do with things like the English language, but we do have a very comprehensive list there of English language qualifications which we recognise. But if you're uncertain about any of the conditions of your offer, please get in touch with us here in the admissions team. We're more than happy to give you some additional advice and guidance on that if it's not clear to you within the offer what's being required of you. We then have unconditional offers. They vary from conditional offers in the sense that with an unconditional offer, we are saying that you have met the academic requirements for the course. So that would be, for example, with an undergraduate course, if we've asked for you to achieve certain grades in your qualifications and you've already done that, it might be that you studied them last year, for example, we could issue an unconditional offer from the outset when you send in your application. However, even with unconditional offers, there may still be some non-academic requirements that you are required to meet in order for us to issue you with a CAS, which is the document that you ultimately need in order to apply for your student visa. Hold that thought on CASs, because after I've covered the postgraduate side, I'll talk a little bit more about the document requirements needed for a CAS. It is critical, if you haven't done so already, if you've received an offer from us, that you reply to that offer. Now, if you're a UCAS applicant, you will have received your offer via the UCAS hub. So you need to log into there and click through to reply via UCAS. If you applied through our direct portal or via the Common App, we will have sent you an email offer, and alongside that, a copy of our offer reply form. So it's imperative that you return that offer reply form, because if you don't, we won't know to progress you to the next stage of the admissions process. So please just double check that you've completed those steps, and then we can ensure that you hear from us with regards to what's required at the next stages. Assuming that you have returned your offer reply form, what we'll then do, and I would imagine the majority of you will have already received this email, but obviously there is a little bit of a lag in sending them out depending on when you return the offer reply form. But we'll send you an email, and I've given it its full title there over on the right-hand side, which is called Documents Required for Your Confirmation of Acceptance for Studies, or CAS. Now, within that email, what we'll do is we will list all of the documents that we need from you that are still pending. So it could be the case that you've already supplied us with a copy of your passport and your English language qualification when you initially applied, but we might still require you to provide evidence of your fee deposit, your final academic qualifications. So we'll make sure that all of those are listed there so you know precisely what it is that we require from you. And also within that email, there will be a link through to our portal, which will allow you to upload those documents yourself. And then once you've done that, we here in the admissions office will receive notification that that's happened. And we can then go through those documents, check that everything's in order, and then proceed to the next stage of issuing you with a draft CAS. If when you receive that email, you have any difficulties uploading the documents, you can email them to us separately if you are experiencing trouble with uploading them to the portal. I will post the relevant email addresses in the chat a little bit later on so that you've got those as well. So that's undergraduate. So we've covered off that side. Now I want to just switch to postgraduate. And you will see there are some similarities between the two in terms of conditional offers and unconditional. So I'll reiterate with conditional, that's dependent on you meeting certain academic requirements. So typically what we'd expect with, for example, a student looking to apply for a master's course with us, it might still be the case that they're in the final year of their bachelor's course, and we therefore need the final academic grades and the transcript from that bachelor's in order to kind of firm up your offer. There is the importance of obviously academic or work-related references with our postgraduate offer studies, and English language ability where applicable, and any other additional documents required from you. They will be listed in the additional offer that you receive from us. So likewise with undergraduate offers, if you've had a postgraduate offer letter and you're unsure about what's exactly is expected of you, please get in touch with the team, because we're here to obviously offer you that advice and guidance to make sure that you can progress through the process. Similarly, with undergraduate, it might be the case that we are able to issue an unconditional offer. And an example of that might be a student who completed their bachelor's degree a year or two ago, so already has all of their certificates, their transcripts. That being the case, if you meet the academic requirements, it might be that we've issued you with an unconditional offer. But the similar rule to undergraduate applies, even if you've got an unconditional offer letter, which says you've met the academic requirements, it is still highly likely that you'll have some non-academic requirements to meet. and I will go through those in the next slide. Now, the postgraduate team are working their way through the next stages of the process in terms of the CAS. So I would expect you to start hearing from them over the course of the coming weeks with regards to the documents that are required from you. And that will have the header that you can see there in that box. So look out for an email which is titled Documents Required for Your Confirmation of Acceptance for Studies, because that will list everything in there that's required from you in order to get to that next stage of the CAS process. Finally, from me, for the time being, I just wanted to summarise a little bit in regards to the CAS. Now, Rosa is going to go into a lot more detail about the student visa process, but before you can get to that stage, we need to issue you with this document, which gives you the unique number, which allows you to then apply for your student visa. In order for us to be able to issue you with a CAS, we will require the information that you can see listed here on screen. And I'll very quickly rattle through each of these just to make you aware of what each of them are. So copies of your academic certificates and transcripts. So that's your most recent qualifications and any other qualification information we've requested from you. A scanned copy of your English language qualification. Now that could be something like a TESOL test or an IELTS test, or it could be something that's bespoke to the qualification that you're studying. So for example, if you were an undergraduate student applying to us from India, there are, within certain standard 12 exam boards, we can accept English language from the standard 12. But that should have been made clear to you in the offer letter, precisely what the English language requirements are and acceptable qualifications within that. Scanned copy of the photo page of your passport. So that's the one that's got your picture on it and the your passport number, including things like the start date, the expiry date. We need that because that's critical information that we have to enter onto the system in order to generate a CAS. A CAS declaration form, that is new for this year, and it's essentially getting you to agree to the requirements for issuing a CAS and also a completed financial declaration form. In some instances, you may be required to supply us with financial evidence. That's only applicable to certain countries, and if it is a requirement, it will be detailed in the email that we send you regarding the documents needed for your CAS. In some instances, highly unlikely for postgraduate, but more likely for perhaps a couple of our undergraduate applicants, it may be the case that you are under the age of 18 at the point that our term starts in September. If that is the case, we will send you, as part of the CAS process email, a link through to our under 18 declaration form, and we will require you to submit that if that applies to you. And finally, confirmation of your deposit payments. Even if you supply all of the other documents that I've just talked about, we cannot issue a CAS until we've had confirmation that the deposit payment has been paid. So just please bear that in mind. The flip of that, it might be the case that you've already submitted a deposit payment and you're wondering where your CAS is. It's probably because we're still waiting for some final pieces of information from you. So for example, it could be your final certificate or transcript that we need. So the deposit payment on its own isn't the trigger for a CAS. We do still need all of those other documents that I've just been through. And at that stage, I'm going to switch off my camera and mute and hand over to Rosa and Harriet, I think.
Thanks, Dave. So hopefully you're all clear on the final steps of sending through the documentation to get your CAS. So we'll go quickly back to this application checklist. So the next step, or rather at some point in the cycle, you need to have paid your deposit. So the amount of deposit you need to pay will be stated on your offer letter. So you need to pay that deposit. And some people will also need to do a pre-CAS interview. So there will also be pre-CAS interviews for some individuals. It's not for everybody, but as you're aware, the UK immigration are very strict, and we've got to make sure that we're giving out CASs only to students who we believe are genuine students. So we are obliged to conduct pre-CAS interviews for some students where we're not sure of the documentation, or where there have been visa rejections in the past, or where we just need a bit of information. But there's no need to be concerned about those interviews. They will be a few questions online with a member of our staff, and it will be a friendly conversation. They'll be recorded, and then hopefully you should be receiving your CAS shortly after. So at this point, hopefully you then get your CAS, and I'm going to hand over to Rosa to talk through applying for your visa. So of course you need your CAS before you can apply for your visa, and Rosa will talk you through.
Oh, thank you, Harriet. Hello again. I hope that you can all hear me okay. So we have got quite a lot to get through. But like Harriet said, we will be running more regular visa advising sessions in the next couple of weeks. So please don't worry. If you miss anything, you will have an opportunity to just come along to another advising session, and you will also have an opportunity then to ask any more questions that you have. Right, we do have a lot to get through, so we'll make a start. So you will all need a student visa to register onto your courses. Your student visas will be issued for the whole duration of your course. So you only need to apply for one visa, and that will cover the whole duration of your course. You will be allowed to work for 20 hours per week during term time and full-time during vacation periods. You will also be able to apply to the graduate route, which is the new visa that was introduced by the Home Office last year. And the graduate route allows you to stay in the UK looking for work or starting a new job. If you're an undergraduate student, you'll be able to stay in the UK for 2 years. The same for master's students, you'll be able to stay in the UK for 2 years after you finish your course. And PhD students will be able to stay in the UK for 3 years. You need to successfully complete your courses to be able to apply to the graduate route. And I always have to remind all students that you need to protect your visa. So you need to make sure that you always meet all of your visa responsibilities to protect your visa status in the UK. So we will look at how you actually apply for your student visa. There are 3 main steps. The first one that I need for you to start thinking about now is to start preparing your supporting documents, and we will look at a list of supporting documents in the next slides. Once you have all of your supporting documents ready, then you complete an online application form, and you can follow, if you wish to do so, a tutorial. Now, the tutorial will take you step by step. It will go through all the questions and show you how to answer all of the questions on the student visa application form. We will send you all these links after the session. So you will have all of these links, and they're also available from the visa support advice pages. Once you have completed the application form, you will need to verify your ID. And you do this in 2 ways. The first one is by booking an appointment at a visa application centre, or European students can use an app to verify their ID. Okay, so if you are a EU, EA or Swiss student, you will not need to attend an appointment at a visa application centre. You will use an app to verify your ID. then once you've done this, then you just upload all of your supporting documents to the visa application form. And for those students that need to book an appointment, that need to attend an appointment at a visa application centre, you will go along to your appointment, and that's when you will provide your biometric data, which is really, they just scan your fingerprints, they take a scan of your face, and I think you have to provide an electronic signature. Some students will be asked to attend a credibility interview. This is a separate interview from the interview that we may ask for you to come along to with us, with the university. This is a credibility interview with the Home Office, okay? But again, as Harriet said, these interviews are not anything to worry about. They are just there to make sure that your English is at the correct level for you to successfully engage with your course, and also to make sure that you are coming to Aberystwyth University to study, okay? So they're not anything to worry about. If you do get called for a credibility interview, on the visa support web pages, we have some advice on how to prepare for that interview and some of the questions that you may be asked. So if you do get asked to go along to a credibility interview, make sure that before you go along, make sure that you just have a look at those credibility interview web pages so that you prepare for it. So after you apply for your student visa, you should receive a decision within 5 weeks from the date that you attend your visa appointment, if you had to attend an appointment, or 5 weeks if you didn't have to attend an appointment from the date that you submitted your visa application. There are some delays in visa processing times at the moment with the Home Office. So just make sure that you are aware that it might take around 5 weeks to receive your student visa. If your visa is successful, you will then receive a 90-day entry visa on your passport if you had to attend a visa appointment. Those 90 days allow you to enter the UK within that 90-day entry visa, okay? So when that entry visa is granted, you have 90 days in which to travel to the UK. And then once you arrive to the UK, you pick up a BRP, which is a biometric residence permit. You pick that up from the post office, which is only about less than 10 minutes away walk from the campus. And we will give you information on how to pick up your BRP. European students will not get a BRP or an entry visa. You will just get a digital visa, and you will be sent a link by the Home Office with your digital visa. If your visa application is refused, you need to make sure that you contact me straight away and that you contact the compliance team. The reason for that is that we need to then be able to provide you with advice. So if your visa application is refused, you need to make sure that you let us know as a matter of urgency straight away so that we can provide you with advice. Our advice is always not to book any travel until you have received your new student visa and the Home Office has returned any of your documents. And the reason for that is, like I said, there may be, if there are delays in visa processing times, we don't want you to pay for flights which you then cannot change the dates of. So these are the supporting documents that you need to start preparing now. Okay, so I need for all of you to just take note now. I know this is a lot of information to take in, but this is key information. If you prepare your supporting documents correctly, the visa application process should be a smooth process for you. So many of these documents you would already have had to submit to the university as part of your admissions process. But just to go through them, you will need a valid passport. You will need your CAS letter, which as Dave has gone through, you should now have an idea of how to secure that CAS and how to get that CAS from the university. You will need, all students need to prepare financial evidence, and this is so important. You need to start preparing that financial evidence now, because we will, for some students, we will check that financial evidence before we issue your CAS. So that financial evidence needs to be in place as soon as possible. The amount of financial evidence is, you need a minimum of £9,207 to cover your living costs, plus any balance on your tuition fees. Now remember, you can find your tuition fees on your offer letter, and you will be able to see, you would have been told how much you need to pay for your deposit. So it's any balance on your tuition fees, you need to add it to your living costs of £9,207, and it's that total amount that you need to have in your bank accounts now, okay? And that money must have been available to you for a minimum of 28 days before you apply for your visa. But also, if we check your financial evidence, we will need for that financial evidence to have been available to you for 28 days before we can issue a CAS. Some students are allowed to bring dependents to the UK, and they are mainly postgraduate students. So if you are bringing any dependents to the UK, you also need to add to your financial evidence the amount of £6,120 per person. So we continue with supporting documents. So you will also need copies of all your previous qualifications that are listed on your CAS. And some students, mainly postgraduate students doing certain subject areas, you will also need ATAS clearance. You should know whether you need ATAS clearance, because that would have been it would have been a condition of your offer. So if you do need ATAS clearance, you should already know that. Some students, depending on the country that you are living in, will need a tuberculosis certificate. If you have lived in a country that requires TB clearance for 6 months or more, your TB certificate can only be issued by a clinic that's approved by the Home Office. So make sure that you go to this link, and it will list all of the Home Office approved clinics in your country. Please only use those clinics to go and get your TB certificate. And we always advise students to bring copies of all of your supporting documents, because you will need them for your pre-enrollment check, which we will look at further on. So just to go back to the financial evidence is absolutely key for your student visas. So all students need to prepare financial evidence, but there are some students that are from low-risk countries as defined by the Home Office, and you can check whether you are from a low-risk country on this link. So those students from low-risk countries, you need to prepare financial evidence, but you don't need to submit it with your visa applications unless the Home Office requests to see it. So even if you're from a low-risk country that you don't need to submit financial evidence, if the Home Office requests to see it, you need to make sure that that financial evidence has been available to you for 28 days. So like I said, all students need to prepare financial evidence. Students from non-low-risk countries, for example, India and Nigeria, you should only submit financial evidence that has been checked by the university. And please remember that bank statements cannot be over 31 days old on the day that you submit your visa application. This is so important because remember, if we have checked your financial evidence, by the time you get your CAS and then by the time you submit your student visa application, that bank statement that we checked may be over 31 days old. So check that is still under 31 days. And if it's gone over that 31 days, you need to request an updated bank statement from the bank and make sure that your level of funding doesn't go below the required amount. So please prepare your financial evidence really carefully and make sure that you don't start to withdraw large amounts from your financial evidence because you need to have that minimum amount. So how much will it cost to apply for a student visa? There will be two main fees that you will need to pay. The first one is the immigration health surcharge. All students applying for a student visa will need to pay an immigration health surcharge, and this is calculated at £470 per 12 months of visa. So this works out, it will be calculated if you're on a 3-year degree scheme, the amount would be £1,645, and if you're on a 1-year PG Masters scheme, for example, you will have to pay an amount of £705. You will get 4 months of additional visa at the end of your courses, and that's why the amounts are slightly higher than 12 months, okay, because you would need to pay an immigration health surcharge for that additional leave that you get at the end of your courses. The immigration health surcharge will give you access to NHS services. It will cover most national health services. The only things that it may not cover are mainly dental treatment and also things like eye tests, okay? But all other national health services should be covered by the immigration health surcharge. And then the visa application fee is currently £363. So all these two payments are made as part of the visa application fee, and you will make them online. So registering onto your course, I think Harriet will give you more information on the sort of the pre-arrival and registering onto your course. But just as a reminder, this academic year starts on the 26th of September. So really, we all are hoping that you will be here for the start of the academic year for all the welcome activities. But you should be aware that the latest registration deadline is the 14th of October. Okay, that is the latest registration deadline. And you need to be in Aberystwyth to complete your registration. You cannot do that remotely. You will not be able to register onto your courses unless you have arrived to Aberystwyth. So really, it is your responsibility to check that you will be able to arrive to Aberystwyth by the latest registration deadline. And please contact us and the compliance team if you cannot arrive to Aberystwyth before that latest registration deadline, so that we can provide you with advice. We're getting to the end of the student visa session, so just bear with me. Before you are allowed to register onto your courses, you will need to go through a pre-enrollment check with the compliance team, and you will start to get information about the pre-enrollment check. I think it's probably around August time, you'll start to get information from the compliance team. Please make sure that you respond to any emails sent by the compliance team. They are a really friendly team, and they are a really good source of advice and support for you in terms of meeting any of your visa responsibilities. You can come to me or the compliance team. I work really closely with them. So these are the things that you will need to submit to the compliance team, which will allow for you to enroll onto your courses. You will need to send them a copy of your 90-day entry visa or entry stamp. But if you didn't need to attend a visa application centre and you only have a digital status, then you will need to send them a link to your share code to access that digital visa. You will also need evidence of travel to the UK. So, and it's fine, either your flight confirmation, your email flight confirmation, or boarding pass, that's absolutely fine. If you received an email from the Home Office with a decision on your visa application, then we need a copy of that. And once you pick up your BRP from the post office, we will need a copy of that. Now, some students will need to register with the police. This only applies to some nationalities, and we will send you more information on how to do that. Again, I can help you with that. And we will need for you to sign a declaration that you will comply with all of your student visa responsibilities. If you have any problems submitting any of the documents, then please email the compliance team. And just like I said before, remember that your visa sponsorship may be withdrawn if you cannot register by the latest deadline. So please refer to the visa support advice pages and email me with any questions. I will hand over now, but I'd be really happy to take any questions that you have at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosa. That was really useful. And I can see we've got lots of questions coming through as well. So we'll go through each one individually. I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about what to expect in the coming months. So firstly, your arrival. So as Rosa said and Dave said, don't book any travel until you have your visa already. So you'll need to send us all of your documents. You need to pay your deposit. Some people will need to do a pre-CAS interview. You'll need to send us all your financial evidence, and then you will get your CAS. Then you apply for your visa, you get your visa, and then you can book your travel. So when you are booking your travel, just bear in mind that we will be doing an airport pickup service on Thursday, Friday and Saturday, 22nd, 23rd, 24th of September. So in the lead up to the start of term. On the 25th of September, there will be a big international welcome ceremony. So it would be fantastic if you can all be there for that Sunday, the 25th of September. So if you arrive to Birmingham Airport, that's the closest airport to Aberystwyth and the easiest to get to and from, then we will come and get you by coach if you arrive on any of those days. So we'll come and meet you at the airport and you can get on the coach, and the drive is about 3 hours to get to Aberystwyth. If you can't find flights to Birmingham Airport, then there are obviously other airports in the UK. So there's Manchester Airport, which again is about a 3-hour journey by train. London, there's many more flights coming into London. So London and Manchester are some of the biggest airports in the UK. So you'll probably find more flights coming into Heathrow or Gatwick or Manchester. And then you can get a train to Aberystwyth or a coach to Aberystwyth. Or if you are very rich, then you can get a taxi to Aberystwyth. But taxis are very expensive because it's a long journey. So we'll send you more information about that. But if you can, try and find a flight that gets you into Birmingham Airport on that Thursday, Friday or Saturday. and then things will be that little bit easier. We'll just be able to bring you here. If you can't make it, then we'll help advise you on the best way to get here, because it's not difficult. Obviously, there are trains, there are coaches, there's many different options. Then I'm so happy to see all the chat about WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and so on. So this is just a quick page about getting involved. So do make sure that you follow us on Facebook. If you're not already, Aberystwyth University International. We're at Aber International on Instagram as well. We do have Twitter. We're not so active on Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook, definitely lots of posts that go on. And there is an International Entry 2022 Facebook group that you should be able to find. And we'll put the post for that into the chat in a minute. Yeah, thank you, Vicky, for sending through the link to the Facebook group. And from there, you can meet other people who are coming to the university. You can set up WhatsApp groups. You can set up other Facebook groups if you want. But it's a good place to get started. As I said before, we will have 2 more pre-departure webinars for international students. So there'll be one on the 27th of July. And again, that will be at 9 a.m. and then 5 p.m. So hopefully hitting all time zones. And we'll talk then about student support. We'll have somebody from the accommodation team with us, a bit about life around town and about your academic studies. Then on the 24th of August, we will have information about what you can expect in that first semester. So we'll have somebody from the Students' Union joining us, so you can find out about clubs and societies, how to make friends, how to get to know people. We'll talk a bit about what to bring and what not to bring. So we'll have some of our current students talking about that kind of thing. All the Welcome Week activities. So again, introducing you to Aberystwyth, introducing you to the departments, introducing you to other people and getting to know others and make friends and so on. And we'll go over the travel plans in a bit more detail as well. And at some point, we'll also talk a bit about jobs and careers. So we can talk in that final session about the different options there are to work while you're studying. Okay, so that is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for staying with us. And like I say, I can see lots of questions coming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the very bottom of the Q&A section. So I saw there were lots of questions in the chat as well. I'm going to start with the Q&A and then skim through the chat as well afterwards to see if there's any extra questions there. And I'm sure a lot of the answers will be the same. So we've got questions about CASs. Oh, they're all disappearing. Okay, they've stayed now. I'm not sure what happened to those questions, but maybe they've come up to the top. Okay, so the first question I can see is, does the school or UKVI have any issues with heavily pregnant master's students on resumption? That is a really interesting question. Oh, but they've gone. I'm not sure what's happening to the questions and answers. Can anybody else see that the questions are disappearing? No? Well, I'll keep going through them. So let's go to the next question. How long does it...
Yeah, they are.
They're disappearing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they're disappearing. I don't know if people are removing the questions just as I'm about to answer them. I'll try again. Do I need to have a TF test? I'm guessing that's maybe TB test before applying for a visa appointment. I'll hand that over to Rosa. I think it probably depends where you're from, but the question has disappeared again.
Okay, so if the question is related to the TB certificate, TB clearance, then you'll be able to check on the links that on the presentation links whether you need to have a TB certificate if you live in, which countries need TB clearance, and you need to have that certificate before you apply for your student visa. Yes.
Thank you, Rosa. Again, I'm coming up with peculiar, the questions are doing strange things. They seem to be disappearing. What one of my colleagues has suggested that maybe there can only be a certain number of questions in the chat, so maybe they're disappearing as people put new questions in. A question about scholarships for IELTS. We don't have scholarships for IELTS, I'm afraid. I'm just going to try and go really quickly. If you, all the questions are disappearing. Okay, change of plan. I'm going to start from the top. And let's see what happens. Dear me. Okay. So if my finance is not up to £9,207, does this mean my application will be rejected?
It depends whether you are from a low-risk country or not. So if you're not from a low-risk country, we will check your financial evidence. And if your financial evidence is not in place, so if you don't have the funds available to cover the balance of your tuition fees plus your living costs, unfortunately, we will not be able to issue you with a CAS, which means that you will not be able to apply for a student visa. So we do need for you to have that financial evidence in place.
Thanks, Rosa. And another similar question. Based on financial evidence details shared just now, I have a little less than the amount, 9,200 plus the balance after paying the deposit. Will my visa be entertained?
Yeah, financial evidence is key. Your visa application, unfortunately, will be refused unless you have the level of financial evidence that is required by the Home Office. So even, I mean, the rules, Harriet did mention, the rules are very strict. Even if your financial evidence is short by £1 or £5, the visa application will be refused. And that's why we're trying to provide you with clear information. You need to prepare your financial evidence. That needs to be in place now, as soon as possible.
Absolutely. I think that's a really, really important point, and something that we saw happen last year is that people who didn't have the right amount of money in their bank for 30 days or 28 days, even if it's just £1 below, even if it's £5 below, we were not able to give them a CAS. We were not able to let them get a visa. And that's not our regulations, that's the regulations of the UK. So you must make sure that you have the right amount of money in your bank account for a minimum of 28 days. And even if it's only 27 days, there's no flexibility. You have to make sure that it's in there for that amount of time. It's really important. And yeah, as I said, we had a few problems last year where students didn't have the right amount of money. Some other questions I saw about the Global Wales scholarships. So there are scholarships available for students from certain nationalities through Global Wales. I know that the applications are in, the judging, I think, has nearly been finalised. So the winners of those scholarships, I think there are 4 scholarships available, will be able to announce that this week. And then we'll make sure that students are able to accept it. And once we have the final winners and the final people who are going to receive those scholarships, then we'll let everybody else know if they have or haven't been successful. So you should have a final decision in the next, well, if you're successful this week, and if you're not successful, probably the next couple of weeks. Question from Sarah, can I register on arrival, i.e. before the 26th of September? So if somebody were to arrive the week before, could they register in advance?
So you will not be able to complete registration until that first week of Welcome Week. You'll be able to do a lot of pre-registration tasks, and you should do those. You should try and complete as many of the tasks that you are given by the university, such as submitting your documents to the compliance team. But you won't be able to complete registration until you're here and you go through the registration process with us. And the reason for that is that either on the Monday, on the first Monday of term, or the Tuesday, or the first Tuesday of term, you will be given academic registration advice by your academic department, and you need to go to those meetings, receive academic advice on the modules that you'll be registering for, and then it's after you've gone to those meetings that then you'll be able to complete registration. Okay, so you won't be able to complete registration before the start of term, but you'll be able to complete a lot of the tasks, which will hopefully then make the registration process a lot smoother and quicker for you.
Thanks, Rosa. I saw another question in there about quarantining. So obviously with COVID last year, some students had to quarantine, so they had to stay in self-isolation or stay in their rooms. This year, there is no need to self-isolate. I am delighted by this. It is very good for everybody because it was very complicated to organise all the accommodation for people to self-isolate in last year. And it was not a good experience for students to arrive to a new country and then have to stay in their bedrooms the whole time, or rather for the first week or so. So there is no need to self-isolate this year, which is fantastic. I'm also seeing obviously a lot of questions about CASs, about visa delays, about arriving after the 14th of October. So the answer to any questions like that, we will be able to issue your CAS only once you've sent us all of your documents. So you must send us all the right documentation. Go back to your offer letter, read carefully what it says, and make sure that you've sent us all of that information. Pay your deposit. So you need to have paid your deposit before you can get your CAS. And then as soon as you're ready to go, and we've got all the right information, we can do the pre-CAS interview if you need one, and then we can issue your CAS. So the sooner you get the documentation to us, the quicker we can get your CAS out. You can also contact us at international@aber.ac.uk, and I'm sure many of you have been in touch with a lot of my team in the international recruitment team. So we have an office in India, we have an office in Malaysia, we have an office in China, and then we've got all the staff who are here in Aberystwyth who deal with students from different parts of the world. You can get in touch with them. If you think you're ready for the CAS, you can ask them any questions and they can check things for you. I really, really recommend that you make sure that you've got all of the documentation sent to us. Check through everything, make sure you've got it to us, and then you'll get your CAS, and then you can apply for your visa. As you're all aware, time is of the essence, and we're working as hard as we can to get the CASs out. And once you get that, make sure that you work as hard as you can to make sure you get everything perfect. There is no flexibility when it comes to the Home Office in the UK, so you must get everything right. Okay, some other questions coming in. Can TransferMate be used for deposit payment? I'm not sure that TransferMate is possible. I'll double check that for you though and get back to you. Upper Yeni. And the airport pickup service applicable to students and their dependents. Yes. So just let us know that your dependents are coming with you, and we can put you on the coach service. Yes, scholarships for IELTS 6. There's no scholarships for IELTS grades, I'm afraid. Here we go. The questions have reappeared again. I don't know what happened. Have any issues with heavily pregnant master's students on resumption? That's a good question. I think that's difficult to answer. A lot of it would be to do with whether you're allowed to travel if you are heavily pregnant. And so if your doctor is saying you can't travel, then the airline wouldn't let you on the flight in the first place. Rosa, you look like you've got some good advice there.
Yeah, it's just also to bear in mind that when you're on a student visa, you are expected to engage and attend all of your sessions, all of your teaching sessions. So just for you to be aware that if you are expecting a baby, then you may need to take some time off from your studies, and you will need advice from us on how long you'll be able to take time off, because if you do need to take a period of maternity leave, we may need to then withdraw your visa sponsorship, which would mean that you will have to return to your home country, and then when you're ready to resume your studies, you'll need to apply for a new student visa. So these are things that you need to be aware of. We can provide you with advice, and I would definitely advise you to get in touch with me if these are your circumstances at the moment.
Thanks, Rosa. And yes, any complicated situations, Rosa is fantastic at talking people through all of the details and making recommendations. So please do get in touch with her, and we'll pop her email address into the chat again. Scholarship opportunities, we don't have many other scholarship opportunities than I've talked over already. So the International Accommodation Award is one of the primary financial sort of discounts and benefits to studying at Aberystwyth, that you would have access to our International Accommodation Award. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that because those rooms on campus are single person, so they're just for one person, you are not able to bring dependents to live in your bedrooms. If you are coming with dependents, you would need to find private accommodation. Now, this is something that's unfortunate, and it's something that the university is working on at the moment. And so hopefully in future years, we may have accommodation on campus for families or for people with dependents. But at the moment, we don't. So there isn't an option on campus if you are coming with dependents. You must find private accommodation. Okay, so lots of questions about updates, and all the questions are jumping around at the moment. So I'm afraid I think I'm going to have to leave these questions. We have a copy of all the questions that come up on a transcript that we can download from the webinar. So we can get in touch with each of you about the questions and reply to you with an answer directly to exactly which question you're asking. I'm just going to jump around a few, and then we'll move quickly through the chat as well. One question is where to get a TB certificate from. I'm guessing that's from your doctors. And I suppose it depends on which country you're in. But
it will be on the link, like from the presentation, and yeah, and like I said, remember it can only be issued by a clinic that's approved by the Home Office, but you'll be able to check a list of clinics that are approved by the Home Office on the link from the presentation.
Brilliant, and we'll make sure to send the presentation round. And this session is recorded, so you'll be able to check back and re-watch the recording if you want. Okay, so I'm going to move over to the chat quickly, and thanks very much, Vicky. Vicky's been adding a number of different links through the chat, so the link to the TB test is there in the chat right now. Lots of questions about CASs. Again, we're working on the CASs as quickly as we can. Please just make sure that you've sent all of your documentation, because quite often, and I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, but quite often we have students saying, where is my CAS, where is my CAS? And they haven't sent us the right documentation yet. So we can't issue the CAS until we get those documents. So please do send those through to our admissions teams. So of course you have UG admissions if you're an undergraduate student, so that's UG-admissions@aber.ac.uk, or there's PG admissions, which is PG-admissions@aber.ac.uk. And perhaps Vicky can put those into the chat as well. Right, there are so many questions jumping around still. And like I say, we have access to all of these questions, and we have access to your email addresses. So we'll be in touch with you and email a response to all of your questions, because I think that's easier than trying to answer each individually. If you have any other questions, if this evening you're eating your dinner and you're thinking, oh, I should have asked that question, please email us. international@aber.ac.uk is the best way to get through to the international team, or you can email Rosa, and we've got the link here. The email address for Rosa is immigrationadvice@aber.ac.uk.
Yes.
I can never remember that one that well. Immigration advice, all one word, @aber.ac.uk. So that would be to get in touch with Rosa, and to get in touch with Dave and at UG Admissions, and the PG Admissions is ug-admissions@aber.ac.uk, pg-admissions@aber.ac.uk. You can also contact us through live chat. So on our website, on the international web pages, again, Vicky, if you can put the international, the Aberystwyth International page link on the chat, we will have a live chat option on all day, every day. I think it's on something like 9 till 4 p.m. So you can chat to us directly there. You can ask us questions through Facebook, through Instagram. Just be clear with your questions and we'll be able to answer them quickly. Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye now. We're going to close off the session unless Rosa or Dave has anything else that you want to comment on.
Nothing from me. Thanks, Harriet. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Nothing from Rosa. Great. I have seen a question about exchange programs with Uzbekistan or other countries like Korea or Russia. We don't have exchange programs with those countries as far as I'm aware. We do have some exchange programs. If you look on our website under global opportunities, you should be able to find those, but we don't have exchange programs as such. Yes, I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you so much. Do I need COVID vaccine to travel? Sorry, I'm spotting other questions that I'm just answering quickly because they're good for everybody to know. A COVID vaccine is not necessary to travel. You can be vaccinated or unvaccinated. Some airlines, I think, require a COVID test before you travel, but the UK does not require you to have done a COVID test before you enter the country. We don't require you to have a vaccine. If you want to get a vaccine and you're here in the UK, you can do that. You will be eligible to have a vaccine if you haven't already had one, so you can get a vaccine here. We obviously recommend that people are vaccinated, but it's your choice whether you want to or not. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. It's great to see so many people here. Please do join us at the end of July for more information. Please do join Rosa on some of the other visa sessions that we'll have, and they're listed on the website now as well. So you'll be able to sign up to those, and we'll send out another link to those once they're live. I think the next one is on is it the 13th of July? So that's a visa specific one.
Yes.
We'll send
checking my calendar. Yes, the 13th of July. We realise how stressful and confusing it can be to apply for a student visa and to go through the admissions process with us. So we're hoping that just running regular sessions will give you an opportunity to come back, and then we can try and get through more of these questions. Hopefully, yeah, it's been challenging today because Harriet is right. The questions are jumping all over the place, so you can't tell which questions are coming in or which have been answered. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's been fantastic to see your names on the chat and see the conversations happening. And I really do encourage you to get to know each other before you arrive if you can. But of course, you'll all get to know each other when you're here. So we really look forward to seeing you in September, and please do get in touch with any more questions, and we'll be in touch with the questions that you've already asked. Thank you so much. Have a great day, have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.